Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1994 AN. Today's date is October 13th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Phase 1 of the Economic Deal Completed. It's happening. Now, before we get started, let's talk about investing in the market. There's never been a better time in history to invest in the stock market and cryptocurrencies. With over 30% in overall gains since Trump took office, the market continues to climb to the top. Trade Genius over the last 30 days have netted its traders nearly 40% on their money from spot-on crypto and stock trades. For example, Trade Genius issued a buy signal on altcoin FET-BTC that netted profits of nearly 17%. Also a buy signal here on AMB BTC for an 8.8% gain. Their binary options program overall record is now at 161 wins with 11 losses, and cryptocurrency trades are up over 550% on the year. If you've never traded before and want to take advantage of these types of profits every day in the market, I urge you to sign up for one of the many Trade Genius online educational courses. Learn to trade stocks, cryptocurrencies, binary options, perfect for yourself or a gift for a loved one. Take control of your financial future, discover the lucrative world of trading, and receive personal coaching with the Trade Geniuses Bob Kudla and Philip Cleaver. Right now through October for their Halloween specials, you can save over 50% off their bundle specials and or use promo code Halloween40 for 40% off all non-bundled items. Check out TradeGeniusAcademy.com. Tell them X22 Report sent you. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the Patriots have finally done it. They have completed phase 1 of the Chinese trade deal. And remember, the strategy was to continually keep up the pressure on China. Every time they didn't agree, they added more and more tariffs, more pressure on China. And as you can see, the Chinese are starting to realize that Trump is going to be in power. He's not going to be losing the 2020 elections. The deep state is not going to be in power. Everything is changing. Now, President Trump's U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin gathered with their Chinese counterparts in the Oval Office for a lengthy announcement of Phase 1 of the U.S.-China trade agreement. Phase 1 has reached an agreement in principle and includes intellectual property issues, banking and financial services to include currency devaluation, a major agricultural purchase, $50 billion plus. There will be several phases, and each phase will have an individually tailored enforcement mechanism. The U.S. and China are hopeful to have Phase 1 completed by December in exchange for current AG purchase commitments and as an act of good faith while Phase 1 is finalized. The U.S. will suspend the tariff rate increases scheduled to take effect on October 15th. The tariff increase from 25% to 30% has been suspended. The scheduled U.S. tariffs increases for December are still planned. However, they will be assessed as part of the ongoing negotiation. Meanwhile, the other issues like Huawei, 5G telecom, the Chinese firms on the U.S. blocked entity list, which is the blacklist, they're not part of the discussion. Those issues fall under the U.S. national security and will not be part of any of the ongoing trade negotiations. Overall, when you look at this was all done according to plan. And China, as we know, they have the protests happening in China. They also need to buy food because they have a problem with pork. And there are a limited number of export markets that can generate the scale of agricultural imports that China demands. So they're dependent on the United States. And hungry Chinese people only make the issues in and around Hong Kong much, much worse. So Trump wants to sell them food to help U.S. farmers. So he made the deal. And guess what? The scale of Chinese purchases is too significant to overlook. Trump, the deal that he made, suspends a 5% tariff to gain $50 billion in farm purchases. Think about this for a sec. What do you think is happening here? Trump is continually hitting the Chinese over and over and over. And every time they don't agree or don't do what the Trump administration wants, they hit him again. Now, they thought they were going to be able to ride this out. They thought they had the upper hand. But as you can see, they don't. And what this means is the entire world, who was against this, who's still in part against this, all of a sudden, as we move forward, many countries are going to get involved. China has made across the world many unfair trade deals. Why? Why is this so lopsided? Because we need to remember the central bankers who are controlling the world, the entire currency system right now. They were planning to move their system that is imploding, which will collapse, to someplace else. They were going to have an event, and they needed all this in place because they knew eventually China would be the hub. Now remember, the central bank, they do not have an allegiance to a country or group. They move their operation around and they place it where they believe it's going to serve them the best. That's it. But as you can see, once these deals are made, countries are going to join in. And soon we will see this. Now, something very interesting. The Dutch Central Bank has shocked many because they made a claim. They said if the entire system collapses, the gold stock provides a collateral to start over. Now, this is a tweet from Willem, and this is how it reads, and this is the translation. Shares, bonds, and other security, everything is risk. If the whole system collapses, the gold stock offers a collateral to start over. Gold gives confidence in the power of the central bank's balance sheet. Now think about this for a second. The central banks have been buying gold for quite a while now. They understand that their fiat system, their fiat currency, is going to go to zero. It will be worth absolutely nothing. They also understand that gold is real money. Remember, whenever they tell you gold is a barbarous relic, gold is unimportant, it's not real money, always think the opposite. And what the central bank is saying right now is if this system, or when this system, and if you notice, they know their system is doomed. They don't have an event. They don't have a war. They don't have anything to cover this up. Trump right now just completed phase 1 of the trade deal. This whole entire story of the tariffs are the problem, the trade wars are the problem with this entire global system, that is going to fall apart. And like we said many, many months ago, Trump right now is making the deal. Remember, he told China, listen, either make the deal now, which I do believe Trump does want the deal, most likely in mid-2020. I think he would like to wrap it up because this would then lead into the elections and it would expose the central bank and everything else. And actually moving into the elections, it would show that the economy was strong. There are no more trade wars. And he would control pretty much the entire economic narrative. And what would happen at that point? Well, the mainstream media, the central bank, and everything else that's been reporting this is the problem with the economy, well, the United States will look strong. The rest of the world will still look weak. Now, why would they still look weak? Because it had nothing to do with the trade wars, had nothing to do with the tariffs. It had to do with the central bank system. Why is the United States going to look strong? Because we are the reserve currency of the world. What is Trump doing? He's setting it up. He's lowering the rates to be competitive around the world with all the other central banks. He's starting stimulus, and he's introducing this drug on purpose because he's going to show the entire world it had nothing to do with the trade wars. It had nothing to do with the tariffs. It is the central bank system that is the problem. And the only reason the United States is doing well is because he brought the interest rates to zero and started stimulus. Now, of course, he's not going to say that, but he's going to start to point the finger at Europe, at other countries around the world to say, look what the central banks have done to them. And eventually, when it comes back here to the United States, he's going to point the finger at the central bank here in the United States. Now, Trump tweeted out something which I find very, very important, because we need to remember the central bank, they are the source, I would say, of 99% of the problems here around the world that have to do with hunger, poverty, wars, corruption, and everything else. This is the source. And Trump tweeted out the following: "We have become a far greater economic power than ever before, and we're using that power for world peace." Now, think about what he's saying here. He's saying the actual opposite of what the central bank does and has been doing with their economic power. Now, remember, the central bank, they control the Fed, the ECB, the private Western Central Bank in all the other countries, the IMF, the BIS, and then the Rothschilds. Their main focus is control, war, using economic power. Trump is saying we're going to be using economic power for world peace. Very important. And remember what Q said, and remember what the Dutch central bank said. Gold is going to be very important. When everything is said and done, and the fiat currency completely implodes on itself, what is there to protect countries and the people? Gold. Gold is going to destroy the central bank. Gold is going to show the world that the paper currency that the central bank has been pushing is worthless. Gold is going to show everyone what real money is. And Trump and the patriots and other countries around the world, this is when they're going to make their move. Yes, it is happening. And the central banks, as we go through this year, starting next year, watch how they start changing their story. Watch how they look for another explanation. They're going to be trapped. They will not be able to point their finger at anything. And this is going to be a problem for them. Trump and the patriots, they have set them up. The whole thing is happening. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.